My name is Shawn James, and you're listening to 90.3 WMSC, Upper Montclair in New Jersey.
Hello, you're listening or watching 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair. I am here with one of my favorite artists, Shawn James. How are you doing, Shawn?
Hey, everybody. I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing amazing because I'm talking to you. All right, let's just get right into it.
Yeah.
How long have you been playing music and what got you initially interested in it?
I've really been singing since I was a little boy. My mom said that I was just always naturally doing it, and I never really thought about it. Some people go to school to learn things, or try to learn a subject or whatever. For me, I don't remember a time when I wasn't singing, so I kind of came into consciousness, is how I put it. Now, along the way, I got involved in choir and opera and all this stuff in school. And then I also took up trumpet in the orchestra. And that's where I learned, writing music and reading music in the traditional classical form. But that's really what got it started, is just, the desire and just the joy of singing and all that. And then as I got older in high school, I joined bands and I wanted to explore a different avenue of music that wasn't just play what's written on a sheet of paper. And before that, I skipped something. I was also involved in gospel church type stuff, which is a more passionate, more just let it all out versus the structured way of classical music. So I feel like I'm kind of a creature of both of those worlds, and that's why I am how I am.
Yeah, hearing the gospel music makes a lot of sense.
For sure, man. That's
Yeah.
soul. It's just that's what it's all about for me.
Soul.
So
Yeah. Why play specific style music? Gospel, like soul, kind of fusion like that.
I think part of it definitely has to do with where I grew up. I'm from Chicago, from the South Side of Chicago, and also the way I was raised. My family was Pentecostal growing up, and they kind of had this Southern Pentecostal influence, strangely, being in Chicago. But then also I would go to all these neighboring churches and sister churches, and they would have that more rootsy gospel sound and that soulful kind of vibe. But why do it? I don't know. It speaks to me. I feel it, and it makes me feel something. And I think at a young age I needed a release too. From everybody's got their sob story or rags to riches story or whatever, and I'm not trying to compound on that. But when I had horrible things happen in life or hard times, music would always be the thing that kind of lifted me up out of it and was enabled me to cope with everything that was going on. So yeah, I think it was just what was around, what was available, and I just love soul and gospel and blues music too, so it was just natural.
Yeah. Speaking of drawing from your experience, using it to help cope, which is
Mm-hmm.
many artists, many listeners do.
Yeah.
How much of your material comes from your own experience?
I would say I was gonna say the earlier stuff, but that's not true because there's the newest album deals with a lot too. I'd call it 50-50. I think in the beginning on my first record, I was going through, I don't know, it was the first statement I ever made. So I had a lot to say about my life and my experiences and how I overcame things and kind of the mantras or the lessons that I wanted to put out there that helped me. And so Shadows, my first record, was very, very much so inspired by personal experiences and past traumatic things and stuff like that. And then, as I got older, I started branching out into storytale writing, writing stories, creating a character in my head, creating a world that I wanted to put myself in the shoes of and then tell it from a different perspective. It was another perspective of songwriting. I did it a little bit with Through the Valley, because Through the Valley, although it is a personal experience that happened to me that inspired it, the actual subject matter is about a character that I made up. You know what I mean? Who's going through this life. So it's a little 50-50 with that one. But yeah, I think as I get older, I find different ways to write songs, and doing it just one way gets old after a while. It starts to be the same old, same old. And so you look for different things. And yeah.
Obviously, music, it's got to be your life. It's how you make a living. How much, besides just, that's how I get my money, how I pay my bills. How much has music affected your life?
1,000%. I think I think everyone when they're younger is looking for something, whether it be career focused or college, or they're trying to get into something. And I think past a certain age, I went to school for recording engineering and I was working in the industry, but I didn't feel fulfilled. I didn't feel like I had a purpose or something that really made me feel like I was reaching my potential, I guess you could say. And I always knew that I loved music and I wanted to do music. And when I fully started devoting myself to it in 2012, it's just that was the most fulfillment I've ever felt, and it gave me a purpose. And then later, as the music got discovered and got a little more popular, now it's crazy to think that the people that I listened to back in the day and how they made a change in my life and how they helped me get over something or express an emotion that I couldn't necessarily, I was doing that for other people. And that just like blew my mind. I never really thought of it that way, but then starting to get hundreds of these messages, like I said, it's purpose, man. It's purpose, it's creativity, it's love. It's when I'm angry, it's my everything. It's my, yeah, it's so much more than just the money. But I will say, survival and earning money from it enables you to be more comfortable and to take more chances and to take more risks and to put yourself out there more.
People do what you love.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And a lot of people don't ever get to do that. Like I did this for years. I did this for 3 to 4 years on the road all the time and wasn't really making much money and stuff, but I loved it and I was going to do it no matter what. And then I had, a few little things happen, viral blow ups or whatever you want to call it. And then it kind of exposed me to a mass audience. And that's really where I got lucky, whatever you want to call it. It's all about the work that was done. And I was fortunate enough to have my music and my art be exposed to a broader range of people, which really helped me in the end.
Yeah. Speaking of people being exposed to it, what kind of message are you trying to give to your listeners? Because when I listen to it, what I take out of it, the generic theme of a lot of your music is hope and being able to accept the past. Because for me, I'm not even exaggerating. Your music has changed my life. And I'm curious if that was the message you were trying to send to your listeners.
Yeah. I think realistically, most of it has to do with that. It's really song by song and album by album basis, and maybe where I was in that point in my life when I was writing some of those things. But overall, yeah, I mean, you nailed it. Hope, rising up out of it, the dark into light. Like a lot of the themes that repeat in my music do have to do with, keeping going, soldiering on, not giving up, and I find it's funny. I look over the past and I'm like, man, there really is a lot of the same theme, but there's also other stuff. But yeah, so the purpose of the music is really threefold to me. It's, to help inspire people, to maybe make them feel that they could see what I did and then stand on the shoulders or learn something from me. Like I learned from so many musicians, I never heard this style done in this way until I heard this person. And so I want to try that, but then put my spin on it and make it my own. I hope that it inspires people. I hope that for the people that are kind of going through a hard time, that are bottling up a lot of, bad feelings, bad thoughts, bad energy. The second thing is I hope that people can release emotions and release all those tensions and things that maybe they wouldn't have had a way to do before, because I know what that's like. I've been in that position, and sometimes the way a particular artist would sing something or the emotion would just hit me and break me down and make me kind of confront what I was going through in a real way to then let it go. So that's another one. And then really it's just, I really want to make music that makes people feel something, and is passionate and is meaningful too, that actually has a message. And you nailed it on the head with some of those messages being for hope and rising up out of it. But then there's also stuff that deals with anger and how to healthily let go of that. Or, I have some music that deals with addiction, or friends that I see going through a hard time that I then, rephrase in a story. So those are the three main ones, though: to inspire, to help release emotions, and then to feel deeply. That's a big piece of it for me.
Time only reveals the gate, right?
There you go, man.
If
you
nobody
do know you
understands,
do know your stuff.
nobody understands what that means, listen to When I'm Gone. Um, I love that one. That's one of my
Yeah, that's a tough one, man. I actually wrote that in Memphis, Tennessee. I was actually recording On the Shoulders of Giants, which was a really bluesy album that I did at Sun Studios that was very stripped down and very specifically focused on this bare bones blues style. And I remember I wrote it and I sent it to my wife while I was there in the hotel room. And she was upset. She called me crying, and I was like, I get it. But, I feel like this is something that if I were to pass, I would want this to be known and to be out there and to be understood, and sometimes I get really heavy like that.
Heavy music is
Oftentimes.
good.
Yeah.
Has a
Yeah,
message.
for sure.
Right?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Those are my favorite songs.
Hmm.
They tend to be the ones that I noticed with other people that really hit and that draw the most emotion. So yeah, I'm all about it. All about it.
What are your hopes for your career?
You know, when I was younger, I would say to get as big as I can and to, do as much as I can and to maybe work with these top people. But nowadays, it's really to continue and to do what I love and to hopefully keep affecting people in the way that I have been. And realistically, I hope that I can just keep going, keep writing, and keep doing what I love right now. I think I'm very fortunate to be in the position I'm in, and I just want to enjoy that and not kind of enjoy the moment and not be too focused on trying to achieve success that you don't really realize what you have right now. Because when I was younger, I was so focused on, I'd get this opportunity, right? And then I'd crush the opportunity, and then I wouldn't sit and enjoy it. I wouldn't celebrate it. I'd be like, okay, what's next? What do I got to do now? Okay, next. It was all about the hustle and grind in the beginning because I wanted to work. I wanted to do more. I was like never satisfied, but I think it was somewhat unhealthy to be that way and could lead to burnout and just, you never really enjoy what you have if you're constantly thinking about what's next. And, yeah. I hope that answered the question, but
Oh, that was great.
yeah,
That was
yeah,
fantastic. We kind of talked about this before, but I want to get a little bit deeper into it.
sure.
What does making music just mean to you?
Again, that's situational and subjective, depending on the song. In this latest, The Dark and the Light, one of the latest records I put out, there's a song called Love Will Find a Way that I've been working on for, I kid you not, it took me 10 years because
Wow.
I had that thought, I had that idea in my head. I knew this was a subject that I wanted to tackle with my father dying at such a young age and how it affected me, but I never really felt, every time I'd go to the song and start writing it, I was like, well, why am I saying this? What is the purpose of me telling this story? Because I feel like if there's not a lesson in there, then it's just a sad story. Like, there it is, like this is just the way it is, and this sucks, and so for the longest time, I couldn't come to terms with it. I couldn't say what the good was from it. So for that song, why I wrote that one is it took me forever, but in the end I wrote it because, again, like you said, I wanted to give people hope and share a story that you can take these traumatic experiences, and although you might not be able to do it at first, it may take years of reflecting on it and rewrites and looking back and not understanding and not knowing what you're trying to say really, but you have the story. You can get there eventually. You just got to have patience. But that one was really, by releasing that song, I feel like I was able to finally truly let it go. It was kind of a therapy. That song was therapy. So that song, I'd say I wrote it for therapy's sake. And I wrote it for myself because I had to get that out there, and it meant a lot to me. And when I was able to finally finish it, I felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulders, you know? So there's songs like that, that's just like, you have to get it out. And then there's songs like Flow that I write.
Oh,
Why
I
did I
love that.
write? Yeah, it's definitely one of the fan favorites and one of my favorites too. And it's funny how oftentimes some of my favorite songs are the easiest to write. They just like, it just comes to my head and then boom, it's just there. And I'm like, whoa, I didn't even have to think about that or put a ton of effort into that. And I'm like, it feels wrong. Like, I feel like I should work harder on this. But sometimes by leaving a song and letting it be simple, you kind of let it truly shine for what it is. Not all songs are like that, but there's some that you just should leave simple and straight to the point. And that's what I feel like Flow is. You know, I was stressed out. I was living in Nashville at the time, and I was working in studios, assisting engineering and trying to get into that world because I went to school for it. This is before I released any of my music. And I thought that was the path that I wanted to take, you know, because of security and stability, like, you know, pressure from parents. Oh, you got to get a job. You got to, you know, the classic stuff when you're younger and just getting out into the world, you know? And so I thought maybe this would be, this is what I want to do. And it was affiliated with music. And so I did enjoy it. And I learned a lot from the schooling and from doing it. But anyways, once I got into the world and I was working and everything, I couldn't shake that I wasn't happy, truly. You know, I was jealous of the people that I was recording behind the glass and getting to perform and getting to express their songs. And I was jealous. I was twisting knobs and stuff. And I was like, I don't really care about this. This doesn't really do it for me. And I remember I got offered a more permanent position, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go home and think about it. And I remember talking with my wife and just telling her, like, I can't share. I don't want to do this, and I'm going to turn it down, and I'm going to start doing music full time, you know. And that's a scary thought because you're kind of compromising the stability of a career and a paycheck and this viable option that you went to school for, that you invested money in, you're very proud of, but you can't shake that gut wrenching feeling that it's not what you should be doing. That's kind of where I was at. And so that night, or that day, the next day, after I talked to my wife and told her how I was feeling, she was like, well, just think about it. And I had the day off. So I took a guitar down to this river a couple miles from my house. And I just sat there and I played a couple chords, you know, and I came up with the chords for it very easily. And then within like 10 minutes, Flow was done. And I feel like it was because I had this thing weighing on me that I really needed to get out. And I already knew like the thought patterns of what I was going to say in the song, right? Or what I was feeling. And because of that, because I knew them, I felt them, I feel like the cadence, the rhyme, I didn't have to work on it. It was just there. And that is very rare to happen when songwriting, but for me, but that's what I seek. That's what I seek is when you're not really having to think too much. And I love it when the music influences the words and then the words influence the music. Like some people will just write the music first and then put their words later. Some person will just write a poem. And I've done both and I continue to do both. But my favorite and the thing that I always seek when I think the song is truly fluid and just flows well is when you write both at the same time and they both impact each other. So I know I got off course with that one, but yeah, songs, I write them for many different reasons and each song will have its own message. So it depends. That's the answer for that.
Yeah. As a fan, I loved hearing that.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And I got one last question. It's a bit of a fun one, but it's probably kind of tough.
Okay, let's do it.
What's your favorite song of yours?
Yeah, that is a tough one. That is a tough one. You know, because I'll go and expand into my thought pattern with this. I'll give you a couple answers at the end, but I truly can't say that there is one specific one because every song brings up an emotion in me or they make me remember what I was going through at the time. And, you know, some songs like Midnight Dove, I remember I was doing this really, really intimate gig. And Midnight Dove I wrote it during a time when my little 11-year-old sister was going through cancer and cancer treatment and everything like that. And I was one of the only ones that was there for her during that time. And it was really tough to watch her have to go through that as a little 11-year-old girl. And so I wrote this song because I was seeing my family members all around crying, because they're upset, and I get that. But I knew that I had to be strong for her and be positive, kind of like, Mickey and Rocky's boxing corner, like, don't worry about it. You got this. We're not going to let it, get you down. We're going to get in there and just knock them out. So that's how I was being with her. But it was really hard watching her have to go through that. So the way that I let out those emotions is when she would fall asleep in the hospital or at home, wherever, I'd go and pick up my guitar and I'd write some songs. And that's where Midnight Dove came from. And so that's, point in place there is when I played that live this one time, I just couldn't shake it. And I just, like, emotions started welling up in me because I remembered what it was like to go back to that moment and to feel those things that I felt when I was writing it. And I remember while I was performing it, I had tears running down my face. And that doesn't happen a lot, but every now and then it just does. So, that's one of my favorite songs, but for different reasons than Flow is also one of my favorite songs, and a different reason than Through the Valley and its dark epicness and is one of my favorite songs. And, Delilah, Hellhound, Haunt. I have so many favorites. It's hard to say that one is the top, just because, like I said, to me, they all bring out different things and I like them all for different reasons. But live, when you consider live shows, that's a whole nother thing, because then it's like, what are other people's favorites? Because then they might shout the lyrics back at you. They might, I remember the first time I played in Madrid, Spain. I went there as a solo performer, and it was a smaller venue, and I didn't think many people were going to come out. It was a weekday, but it was like a 300 cap venue, and it was sold out. And I remember it's just me and an acoustic guitar, and everybody was screaming the lyrics so loud that I could hardly hear what was going on. But that was the first time I ever experienced that. And the ones that stood out to them that they sang along to, Through the Valley, which is, because of the popularity of The Last of Us 2 and Naughty Dog and how it got exposed, a lot of people know that. So that's become one of my favorites to play live, just because almost everybody in that room is going to know that, and I can see them singing along and I can see how it affects them. But yeah, it's tough to say, man, what's favorites. It's all an experience, and I think that's the joy of it, is it'll change from night to night depending on it.
That's always the answer I expect. There is no answer.
Yeah. I mean,
I completely understand it. I would.
Yeah.
Pick one.
Yeah. I mean, some people maybe, they have a song that really helped them through something, and that's their favorite. And, I understand that, but for me, I can't just say which one it is.
I completely get it. Except my favorite song is The Weeknd. I love
I love that. When I was making some of these songs, some of the newer ones, In the Dark and the Light, some of them I was like, I wonder if people are gonna dig this or be into it. And sometimes, because it's different than some of my other popular ones, you know what I mean? Yeah. But some people, and it's beautiful. I love it when I hear that someone's favorite song is maybe one that is from, in the middle of the catalog and pop in terms of popularity.
Oh yeah, I know.
It's a beautiful thing.
That's one of those.
Yeah, exactly. Like Almost Home is so meaningful to me. And I remember when I wrote it, because I was on tour 1,000 miles from home, and the rest of the band we were sleeping in a trailer then. We had an RV trailer, and we were all sleeping there, and I couldn't sleep. And I grabbed the guitar and I went to the roof of it, and I just wrote that, And so, yeah, when people say that that's their favorite, I'm like, I didn't expect it. That's all that I mean by it. Because, something like Through the Valley, of course, with The Last of Us, you expect the exposure. But when someone says something like that, it almost like makes me happy inside. Oops, sorry. It makes me happy inside, because the songs, they all mean something to me, and when someone else gets something from it, it just makes me feel just warm. It's good.
Thank you so much for being here. You were actually, I just like to say real quick, you were my #1 artist on Spotify this year, actually.
Man, that blows my mind. I've been, Spotify did their rap thing. Spotify rap, where they show you, and the sheer amount of people that spent thousands and thousands of hours listening to the music, it blows my mind. I can't think about it. I can't fathom it, but I don't want to either. I almost don't want to think too much about it, because I want it to remain genuine and honest and just true. And I think once people think too much about, oh, I'm popular, oh, I'm getting all this, it can sometimes change their mindset. So, man, that it means the world. And thank you for saying that, man. I'm really happy that you had me on. And it's always a joy to do this kind of stuff where it's just a conversation. I always say that, um, I love to talk to people about this kind of stuff. So thank you for having me on.
Of course. Thank you, Shawn, for coming on the show. I am really looking forward to when I eventually get to see a live show, whenever that's going to be.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. Where you're in New Jersey, is that right, or where are you?
Yeah, New Jersey.
Yeah, so we tour all over the U.S. and Europe, and this year it was tough on us because we had just started our first tour in March. We got 3 shows in, all of them were sold out, going really well, and then the virus hit, and now, I hope it's soon. I truly do, but I can't say when it's gonna
Yeah.
be. We just gotta kind of buckle in and see what happens. But yeah, man, I can't wait to get over there. Let me know, and I'll put you on the guest list when we do come through.
Wow.
I look forward to
Thank you.
meeting you, man. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyway, thank you all for listening or watching on if we're seeing this on. This was my interview with Shawn James. Once again, Shawn, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.